Thank you very much, Katie. That's by far. Yes, I've just voted that these things have to be done. I've just managed to get away and come over here. So really pleased to join you all this evening to celebrate Ramadan Iftar. And I think it's very fitting that we're observing the beginning of Ramadan, particularly the theme that I was, really pleased to respond to, Ramadan in community. I mean, that just sums it up, Ramadan in community. But particularly tonight, I'm just going to say a few words on that real challenge we've got, the challenging the cost of living through inclusion. And that is about community, isn't it? So just to start by thanking the Muslim Council for Wales and the Dialogue Society for organising this annual Dialogue Iftar dinner. It makes such an impression on all of us who attend. I was speaking to the First Minister, who has sadly wasn't able to be here tonight, but was just saying, how important these events have always featured in his diary, and how we learn so much. And I think the event tonight, it's about what we take away, doesn't it? What we take away from our discussions, from listening to each other, what we take away in our different roles, with our different responsibilities, and also spheres of influence, which is crucially important that we come out of here stronger, learning more what we can do. So I'm here as Minister for Social Justice to listen and learn through this dialogue. But I think we can all identify with this positive community spirit that's experienced here tonight. And I'm just so glad to have caught Maria in her last few words, because I'm such a keen supporter of Women Connect First, always have been since many, many years ago. I was a councillor for the Riverside Ward, but, where, of course, Maria and Women Connect First is based. But Maria has huge influence now, I would say, on the whole of Wales through her engagement with us, particularly in Race Equality Forum. But it is that community spirit which is so necessary, where we have this cost of living crisis, which has led to deepening existing, I'm afraid, inequalities. And I think for all of us here tonight, it's those people, communities and interests that I know we're all particularly seeking to serve, those who are facing the most disadvantage and those deepening inequalities. Rising prices are hitting the poorest households the hardest, as low-income households spend more of their household budgets on essentials, such as energy costs and food, which are key drivers of inflation. Disadvantaged households were already more economically vulnerable as a result of the impact of the pandemic. But friends, Black, Asian, minority ethnic people continue to be overrepresented in the lowest income groups. And these communities are disproportionately adversely affected. They were, of course, by the pandemic, and now some of the worst affected by the current cost of living crisis. We're all acutely aware of the health and economic inequalities suffered by many of our minority ethnic people, and in particular by women from those communities. So what role can we play in Wales to address this, and address it in partnership with local government, the health service, the third sector, our faith communities? In the last year, 83% of the people who accessed our single advice fund services, those are all provided through our citizens advice services throughout Wales, which we fund and our partners fund. Those 83% who were accessing those services identified themselves as coming from a population group who are being hardest hit by the cost of living crisis, including older people, disabled people, and people from Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities. So we continue to fund our single advice services throughout Wales. We learn again in terms of budgeting, very difficult, and colleagues all around the room know how difficult it has been, particularly with public sector, public finance in terms of our budgeting. But to saying, well, what is a priority? And advice services are absolute priority in terms of making sure that people get access to support, get the entitlements, particularly in relation to benefits. But also, we know that people need emergency support. So actually increasing our discretionary assistance fund for emergency payments and also making them at a higher level was something that we decided and needed to do as a Welsh Government. So what we tried to do, and you will be aware of this, is to give our support, to target it at those who need help the most. And around 75% of households are expected to be supported in some way in Wales, but our analysis shows that nearly twice as much will go to households in the bottom half of the income distribution compared to those in the top half, and 3 times as much to those in the bottom fifth compared to those in the top fifth. I mean, this is right, this is important that we do this distributional analysis because we must target and tackle inequalities with our precious public funds and resources, with our policies and the powers that we have in Wales. Maria mentioned our Anti-Racist Wales Action Plan, which many of you were engaged with, helping us to develop that, to guide and steer us as we address disparities. And what's one of the big recommendations that came out of that was that we should have an equality evidence unit at the heart of Welsh Government. So now we have a race disparity team, we have a disability disparity team as well, located in the heart of government so that we can get that guidance and that knowledge and that evidence. So I've been inspired over the last year of the response we've seen across communities in Wales to help people in need. The Muslim faith community has been particularly active, supporting action to tackle food poverty, delivering services, advice and support, providing warm spaces for people finding it difficult to heat their homes. And a number of you here tonight have attended cost of living summits that we've held over the year. I mean, it's amazing, actually, virtually, you can actually very quickly have 150 people all engaging. That's one good thing we know about virtual working. It's lovely to be here with people tonight, though, I have to say. But, when you want to get business done, you can do a lot in a virtual way. Key message from those events was that the Welsh Government can't tackle poverty alone. And our community organisations in Wales have shown, especially during the pandemic and now, through this cost of living crisis, and without fail, they're amongst the first to step up and respond to the challenges that people are facing. So the Welsh Government are working hard to help with you, to help people maximise their incomes. I've mentioned this about people's entitlements, claim what's yours. That's our message, here to help with the cost of living. But also continue to support the delivery of what we call the social wage, our sort of Welsh welfare state, such as it is, with the powers that we've got, policies and programmes which actually help keep money in people's pockets, programmes that help with the cost of the school days, the rollout of universal free school meals, supporting people into work, helping with childcare and health costs, accessing food and fuel vouchers. And then we continue to make representations on issues like the scandal of the forced installation of prepayment meters. Thanks also to campaigners in the Senedd and in communities who brought that to the fore. But finally, can we just thank the trusted relationship we've got with Muslim Council for Wales and other faith communities. We had a Faith Communities Forum, which I chaired last week. It's so good when we come together and there's so much to share. People within our communities sharing together and learning from each other as we go along. It's a really important event tonight in the calendar, in the Muslim faith calendar, but it really provides such a welcome platform for a truly positive, proactive community evening. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr.